Assalamu alaikum, and welcome back to AI Era Islamic Abrahamic Wisdom. Today we're diving into something really fascinating, drawn from the incredible work of Zahir Ahmad Mir in his book, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, Leadership in Faith and Integrity in the AI Era. We're going to explore how a crisis from way back in the 7th century, the Riddah Wars, actually gives us a powerful playbook for dealing with the digital battlefields of our time. It's an ancient crisis that, you'll see, offers a direct blueprint for handling the kind of chaos we're all facing today.
Okay, let's just jump right in. Now, on the surface, you look at these two things and think, what on earth do they have in common? I mean, one is a world of desert campaigns, swords, and tribal loyalties. The other is all about data streams, complex algorithms, and firewalls. But as we're about to unpack, the fundamental principles for leading through total chaos, well, they are shockingly, and I mean shockingly, similar.
So first things first, you have to confront the chaos. To really appreciate the brilliance of the response that followed, you have to get your head around the sheer scale of the crisis. See, after the Prophet Muhammad's death, the new Caliph Abu Bakr wasn't just dealing with a single problem, not even close. He was staring down a total system collapse, a complete avalanche of threats hitting all at once. And the variety of these threats was just staggering. You had these huge spiritual challenges, with false prophets popping up and leading people astray. You had massive political rebellions threatening to literally rip the state apart. Then you had an economic collapse looming because tribes were refusing to pay the mandatory Islamic charity, the zakat. And as if that wasn't enough, you had external enemies on the borders just waiting for the right moment to invade. It was a true multi-front war, attacking the very fabric of the new community.
And this is where the parallel to our world becomes so clear, it's almost scary. Think about today's digital crises. They're never just one thing, are they? A country might be fending off a coordinated cyber attack on its power grid, while at the very same time it's battling a massive misinformation campaign driven by bots on social media and trying to stop ransomware attacks from crippling its hospitals. It is the exact same principle: overwhelming, simultaneous, multi-vector warfare.
So what's the first key takeaway here? It's that where so many leaders would panic, or maybe try to downplay the problem, Abu Bakr's very first move was to calmly and clearly assess the unvarnished reality of the entire crisis. He looked the chaos squarely in the eye without flinching, and that became the absolute foundation of his entire strategy.
Okay, so this brings us to his next critical insight. Unity is the shield. Abu Bakr quickly realized that all these different enemies, all these threats, they were all exploiting the very same vulnerability: fragmentation. And guess what? This is precisely the same weakness that plagues our digital world today.
This quote right here, this is the cornerstone of his entire leadership philosophy. He knew, deep down, that if the community could just stay united, it could withstand literally any attack. But if it fractured, if it broke apart into competing factions and interests, it would just collapse from within. So you see, he wasn't just fighting rebels, he was fighting the very idea of division itself.
And this is basically a fundamental law of modern cybersecurity, isn't it? A company that has dozens of disconnected, unpatched, fragmented software systems, well, it's basically sending out an open invitation for an attack. A nation with different data laws for every state and security agencies that don't talk to each other is dangerously exposed. Attackers, whether they're ancient rebels or modern hackers, they thrive in the cracks created by division.
And we see this principle in action all around us today. A unified national cybersecurity framework, that's what ensures all government agencies are actually working together. You've got laws like GDPR, which create a single, strong standard for data protection across an entire block of countries. And unified emergency protocols, they mean that when a crisis hits, everybody is reading from the same playbook. It's all about unity.
Now for the next big principle: speed equals survival. Look, recognizing a threat is one thing, but actually acting on it, that's a whole different ballgame. And in both ancient and modern warfare, probably the single most critical variable is time. Hesitation is fatal.
Abu Bakr didn't hang around. He didn't wait for the rebellions to grow stronger and consolidate their power. He didn't say, okay, let's deal with this one and then we'll get to the next one. No, he organized 11 different armies and sent them all out simultaneously to confront every single major threat right at its source, all at the same time. It was just a stunning display of decisive, proactive leadership.
This is literally the golden hour rule of digital incident response. You don't wait around to see how bad a data breach gets. You move to contain it within minutes, if not seconds. You don't let misinformation spread for days and poison the conversation. You counter it immediately.
The whole game is about shutting down the threat before it can spread and metastasize across the entire network.
The lesson here is just timeless, isn't it? It doesn't matter if you're dispatching armies across a desert or deploying a critical security patch across a global network of computers. The fundamental equation has not changed one bit. Speed in a crisis equals survival. Period.
All right, this brings us to what might be the most challenging and, honestly, the most powerful principle of them all. It's the idea that in a complex system, there's actually no such thing as a small, acceptable failure, because allowing even one tiny deviation starts to normalize non-compliance, and over time, it just psychologically erodes the integrity of the entire system.
So, picture the scene. You've got some tribes who agree to political unity, but they refuse to pay the zakat, the mandatory annual charity, which is a core pillar of Islam. Many of Abu Bakr's senior advisors, his companions, argued for compromise. They said, look, they're still playing, they still consider themselves Muslims, let's just leave them be. It's a small issue compared to the huge rebellions. And you know what? It was a politically sensible argument. But Abu Bakr's response? It was absolute. He understood something incredibly profound about systemic integrity. He argued that the system of Islam was a complete, integrated whole. You can't just remove one pillar and expect the building to stay strong. Allowing even one to be removed would weaken the entire structure and basically invite its eventual collapse. To him, this wasn't some political negotiation. This was a defense of the entire system's soul.
And this table here, man, it just illustrates the identical logic perfectly. A single leaked password seems like such a small mistake, right? Just like refusing the zakat did to some people. But in a deeply interconnected system, that one small breach can give an attacker the keys to the entire kingdom. And this principle, this powerful idea that there are no small breaches, is the very bedrock of what we now call zero-trust cybersecurity. It's the same logic, just separated by 14 centuries.
So, after all of this, what's the ultimate lesson? What should we really take away from this? The core insight, I think, is that while our technology has evolved beyond anything our ancestors could have imagined, the fundamental principles of leadership in a time of crisis, they haven't changed at all.
So you see, this isn't just some interesting history lesson. It is a practical, actionable framework for leadership. The need to assess the full threat, to demand and fight for unity, to act with incredible speed, and to maintain absolute systemic integrity. These principles are just as relevant to a CEO defending their company's network today as they were to a caliph defending his community 1,400 years ago.
And this really leaves us with a final important thought. As we rush headlong towards ever more complex technological fixes for our AI-driven problems, it's really worth stopping and asking the question you see on your screen. What other timeless wisdom, preserved in our history and our faith, are we just overlooking? Let us know what you think down in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.
The nation's power grid is under assault. A bank's most critical data is being held for ransom. A huge wave of misinformation is being weaponized to tear society apart. These are incredibly sophisticated 21st century threats, right? So where on earth do we look for the solution? Well, the answer is probably going to surprise you.
Yep, you heard that right. The key isn't some fancier algorithm or a bigger, stronger firewall. Instead, we're looking all the way back to a leadership model that was created in the fire of a 7th century crisis. A strategy so solid, so clear-headed, that it translates almost perfectly to the chaos of modern digital warfare.
To understand this, we have to go back in time. Our case study is the Riddah Wars. This was a period of just immense turmoil that really threatened to tear the early Muslim state apart right after it had formed. And the leader who had to navigate this incredible crisis was the first caliph, Abu Bakr. Now, in Islamic tradition, when his name is mentioned, it's followed by the honorific, "May Allah be pleased with him," which is a sign of deep respect. And his decisive actions back then created a template for crisis management that, as we're about to see, is more relevant today than ever.
Okay, so you're faced with a threat that could end everything. Where do you even begin? Well, for Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, and for any modern cybersecurity expert worth their salt, the answer is exactly the same. You start with intelligence. It is the absolute foundation of any effective defense. Why? Because you can't fight an enemy you don't understand.
And this is where it gets really incredible, because the parallels are just uncanny. Look at this. Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, he didn't act on rumors or panic. He made sure to gather accurate intelligence. He took the time to analyze the strengths and, this is crucial, the motives of each group that was in rebellion. Now look at the right side. This is precisely what a modern cyber intelligence unit does.
They perform threat analysis, they identify the attackers, and they work to understand their motives. Is it about money, politics, espionage? It is the exact same strategic mind, just on a completely different battlefield.
And intelligence is useless if you don't act on it, right? Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, immediately deployed specialized commanders, each one with a very specific mission that was tailored to the unique threat they were facing. The modern equivalent, well, it's deploying highly specialized teams. You've got malware analysts who are like detectives, reverse engineering a virus. You have penetration testers whose job is to find the weaknesses in your own system before the enemy does. Digital forensic specialists investigate after an attack to see how it happened. And now you even have AI safety auditors to protect our most advanced systems. Each one is a specialized commander for a digital war front.
And that right there, that is the winning combination. It's the 1-2 punch. See, it's not enough to just have good information. You have to be able to act on it, and act on it fast. This was the success formula for Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, and it is still, to this day, the undisputed cornerstone of every single successful cyber defense operation.
All right, but what happens when you're not just fighting one fire, but a dozen of them, all at the same time? In the digital world, they call this a distributed denial of service, or DDoS attack. Back in the 7th century, it was a rebellion on multiple fronts. The principle for survival, though, is identical. You absolutely must prioritize.
This is where the strategic genius of Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, really shines. He intuitively understood that not all threats are created equal. He didn't waste his best armies on minor skirmishes while a massive, organized force was gathering on the horizon. He identified the single most dangerous threat as the primary existential one, and he focused his main strategic effort there first. It was only after neutralizing that massive danger that he then sent his resources to deal with the smaller rebellions. That is strategic triage in action.
And here's the kicker. Fast forward 1,400 years, and what framework do modern cybersecurity teams use to handle a flood of attacks? This, the exact same model, just formalized into what they call a threat prioritization pyramid. Every single incoming threat alert, every potential data breach is categorized. Is it critical? Something that could take down the entire system? Is it high? Something that could cause major damage? Medium? Just disruptive? Or low? Basically a minor nuisance? This framework is what stops security teams from getting completely overwhelmed and makes sure the biggest, most dangerous fires are put out first.
So let's break that down and make it real. A critical threat isn't just an inconvenience. We're talking about a hack on national infrastructure, the power grid, the water supply. High could be a ransomware attack that locks up a major bank, causing total financial chaos. A medium threat might be a coordinated misinformation campaign online, designed to erode public trust. And low, well, that's your everyday spam and annoying phishing attacks. By sorting them like this, organizations know exactly where to point their energy and their resources.
It all comes back to this one simple, powerful lesson from Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him. And it's more critical now than ever before. In an age where we are constantly bombarded with digital noise and alerts, the ability to wisely tell the difference between a real danger and a simple distraction, well, that is the key to survival.
Okay, so let's recap. You've gathered your intelligence, you've prioritized the threats, you've put out the biggest fires, and you've neutralized the immediate danger. So, crisis over, right? We're done? Not even close. The next phase is arguably the hardest and maybe the most important, restoring stability and, crucially, trust after the attack.
And once again, we look back and the historical model is just perfectly relevant. After the wars were won, the work of Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, shifted from military strategy to nation building. His goal was to reestablish unity, to rebuild trust in the central government, and to restore the core social and economic systems so they were fair for everyone. This is the exact same blueprint for modern cyber recovery. You have to restore the broken systems, you have to engage in clear, honest public communication, and you have to work tirelessly to rebuild the trust you've lost.
You see, this really redefines what crisis management means. It doesn't just end when the hacker gets kicked out of the network. No, it ends when the users of that system, whether they are citizens of a state or customers of a company or users of a digital platform, have their confidence fully restored. It's all about getting back to a state of peace, trust, and reliable functionality.
So when we step back and we put all these pieces together, the intelligence, the prioritization, and the restoration, what we have isn't just a collection of interesting historical stories. It's a complete, it's an actionable, and it's an enduring template for leadership in any time of crisis, especially our own.
So if you're a leader listening to this right now, here are the takeaways you can literally write down and use tomorrow. First, confront a crisis early. Don't let a small breach fester and grow into a catastrophe. Second, let intelligence, not panic, drive your strategy. Third, always prioritize your threats with discipline. And finally, never, ever forget that your last and most important job is to restore public trust after the attack is over. This is a checklist for victory in any digital conflict.
And you might be thinking, okay, that's great for big governments, but who else can use this template? The answer is pretty much everyone in a position of digital leadership. This isn't just for national cybersecurity teams. It's for corporations trying to protect their customer data. It's for social media platforms battling waves of misinformation. And it's absolutely for the new AI-powered institutions that are shaping our collective future. These principles are universal.
You know, it's easy to look at the world today, at the cyber attacks, the digital manipulation, the threat of AI-driven warfare, and to think that our problems are completely new, that no one has ever faced anything like this before. But the human element of managing these crises, the kind of steadfast leadership that's required to navigate the chaos, that remains unchanged. The lessons from the Riddah Wars speak directly to our biggest modern anxieties.
And that really is the bottom line here. This isn't just some historical curiosity. It is a practical, powerful, and proven model for leadership. The calm, the strategic, and the principled approach of Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, offers a timeless guide for anyone who is tasked with protecting a system, a community, or a nation in this chaotic digital age.
It's just amazing how deep this connection between ancient wisdom and modern problems runs, isn't it? Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
And if you found this fascinating, just wait. Next time, we're continuing our exploration by tackling an even bigger battle, the battle for truth itself. In an age of deepfakes and rampant misinformation, how do you even establish what's real anymore? We're going to look for answers in the legacy of a man known as as-Siddiq, which means the affirmer of truth. You won't want to miss it. See you then.